It's a privilege that we get to show our facility off. It's something that this facility was originally built a little over 20 years ago. As you'll see when you walk around it, it's pretty spick and span for being built originally about, I guess it's 22 years ago.
Wow.
And it's a facility that we're proud of. You will see all the machines. I'll show you the blenders where your Essential One, your Ultimate Friendly Flora, where they're all blended. I'll show you the machines that they're encapsulated on, where that bottling line running behind me, we're bottling our Vitamin Angels, our donated prenatal vitamins to Vitamin Angels, which pretty soon will have donated 1 billion,
wow,
1 billion doses, which is just pretty amazing. So, but that's where it all, that's, as you said, that's where all the magic happens. And it's, for me, it's just a privilege. And I would love, frankly, to be able to see live footage of wherever I probably wouldn't want to see, like where I might get my chicken or something like that. That's probably not something I want to see.
Yeah.
Not because it isn't sanitary, but we don't really want to think about, at least me, I don't want to think about the living chicken when I'm thinking about the chicken I'm eating. But I digress. So it's a privilege to be able to show you what we do, how we do it, where we do it, because I think it should instill confidence. We talked before that everything is done here in America, and certainly as someone who owns a company, it would be more economical for me to do it just south of the border, which isn't very far from here in Mexico, but why would I do that? These products are for Americans, being made by an American, so let's do it here. I wish, as I always said about my solar panels and environmental responsibility, I wish that big companies took it as seriously as I do as a little company. So just a little thought there. Hopefully somebody's watching and maybe they will. But Ultimate Friendly Flora.
Yeah.
We've been doing a probiotic product long before it became popular. Again, this is something we've looked at for over 30 years. And for probably half that time, I didn't make a product because we obviously ship our products direct. And even if we were shipping products into a store, you couldn't make a product until there was a way to make a formula that was stable at normal temperatures. And that's something that took us over a decade to accomplish. I said earlier that even if we could make a product that would be very popular, unless we could make it and know that it's also beneficial, we won't make it. Unlike other companies that will sell all sorts of crazy ingredients that offer no benefits at all, we would never do that. So it took us over a decade to figure out how to make our Ultimate Friendly Flora product such that the Friendly Flora would be beneficial and stable and deliver the benefits to you. Each capsule contains our original Friendly Flora product that I did ages ago, had 1 billion colony forming units. Right. Then we did one with 5 billion colony forming units, that is our today's Friendly Flora. And then our Ultimate Friendly Flora is 25 billion. We talk about how overpopulated the planet is. I think today there's about 7 billion people on the planet. 7 billion individuals, that's a lot of people. Yeah. Whatever, 350 million of them right here in America. So when you think about that, now think about the fact that each capsule contains, not multiple capsules, each capsule contains 25 billion colony forming units of specially selected flora. The species are specially selected, and I have quotes from the research that enumerates those species because those are the most beneficial. So of course we have our Lactobacillus acidophilus. We've all heard talk about acidophilus. Acidophilus is its last name. We often call it by that last name. Yep. Then there's also Lactobacillus plantarum. Then there's Lactobacillus salivarius. And lastly, Bifidobacterium lactis, which is incredibly important. We use 2 different strains, but all told, and with each strain, we deliver about a 20% bonus when we put it in the capsule. So technically, we just want to make sure that even if you challenge this product a little at home, and this product doesn't have to be refrigerated, you could keep this product just in a cabinet at normal room temperature. You want to keep it away from you don't want to put it in a bathroom and things like that where there could be high humidity and moisture. But it's a product that's stable. And that stability is designed to deliver the benefits to your body. And again, when we design the product, it's not enough to make sure it's stable in the capsule. We also have to make sure that those Friendly Flora are going to feel at home in your body, meaning that the acid in your stomach is not going to kill them the moment you introduce them. Right. So we have to make sure that they're going to literally implant themselves, that they're going to want to make themselves at home there. And that's why not only do we want the friendly flora to be friendly to us, we need to be friendly to them as well. So it's a relationship that, to give you a sense of the importance of that relationship, there's a few 100 trillion cells in our body, or a few trillion cells in our body. There's a few 100 trillion organisms in terms of friendly flora. So we are outnumbered by our friendly flora. The role they play for our immune system, the role they play for our digestive system, the role they play for even what they call the gut-brain axis, the connection between our brain, our neurological function. It's not just that if our stomach feels better, our brain's going, we're going to feel better, our brain's going to work better. That there's actually a biochemical, physiologic connection between those two systems that are dependent upon our having a healthy balance and a healthy content of friendly flora.
If you are somebody that, and you know, Andrew spent a bit of time talking about this, but if you're taking any type of products right now for acid reflux, for heartburn, like I have been in the past, this is something certainly to consider. Promoting that internal health, digestive health is so important, and friendly flora, again, if you read the reviews, extraordinary comments and statements from people just like you and me. We're going to go in a few moments